Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special Game of Thrones bonus Google Hangout video and podcast. I am Wendy Humbrock. I'm your host, and today I'm joined by some of our small council as well as the Game of Thrones Academy. So, everyone, introduce yourselves, please.
Hi, I'm Gil Kidron.
Itamar? So this thing. And
No.
Itamar, yeah. Sorry.
And I'm Shannon from Vancouver, Washington.
And I am Jesse Jackson from Dallas, Texas.
So welcome back. This is our second Hangout question and answer discussion. We had a ton of fun the last time, and I'm sure we're going to have more today. We're going to talk about some recent news, most notably the trailer, which is mostly a tease, but there's one little hint of stuff in the trailer. As well as some casting that also foreshadows some people that are coming if you're not reading the books. And also, some Emmy nominations for Game of Thrones, which is always exciting too. But otherwise, not too much news. Actually, the filming just about wrapped up, principal filming, and now they're going to go off and finish all the special effects and post-production. But first, let's talk a little bit about the casting of the Tarly family really quickly. We're going to see a lot more of Sam's family, his father, his brother. Does that mean we're making a pit stop at their house on the way to the Citadel? Or is this just going to be sort of very brief characters, or will they be substantive, do you guys think?
I think, I don't know, I'm actually pretty excited about the Tarleys. I think I like the whole Tarley plot in the books. I think his father, Sam's father, is an awesome character. Sorry, and I don't know. I think that's gonna be intense, and Sam is going to have to deal with some new stuff that we haven't seen before, because his path is to become more of a man by his own right. So he has to go through his father to get to there.
I have a confession. I haven't followed anything or any news concerning the new season.
Why?
Because I don't plan to see the new season until the next book comes.
Why?
Because the story that I got
So you
into.
don't want the books to be spoiled.
Yeah. It's not only about spoilers. It's more like the story I like is the story from the books, like the politics and even the description of the food.
I don't like that part.
This is the part of I read it as like a very live historical novel, and I give a lot of credit to the show that they achieved, in my view, to translate a lot of powerful messages and powerful scenes from the books to the show, and they did it brilliantly. But the story that I want to follow the story of the books. So after the next book will come out, in 100 years or something, then I will watch the show.
Like you want the first experience of the plot to be something that George R.R. Martin writes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. What about you guys?
It might depend on how fast you can read, because there are two things. One, because of production times and HBO's inventory, Game of Thrones is going to start a little later than it normally does, because they're going to have Vinyl, I think, is their big Sunday night show, the Martin Scorsese rock and roll thing. Yeah. And then Westworld, based on the Michael Crichton book, which is a 10-episode sci-fi thing. And then instead of the usual April, it may be, I think, into May before the new season comes back. And there were rumors, not only is that because of the television shows and the production stuff, but to give George time to get his other book out before the new season starts. So nobody's confirmed anything, but there's a good chance, and I'm hoping, like you, that it comes out ahead of time.
I need two days. I can finish the books in 2 days. Really. 2 days, that's all.
That sounds like one of those, name that tune. I can read the book in X days. I can read the book. So I want to know, if the book doesn't come out, what does this mean for Game of Thrones Academy? Will we not get new discussions on the new season and the new plots?
That's a good question. Actually, we're planning February, March, and April until the new season arrives to do almost, I don't know, every day or 2-3 times a week at least, a character breakdown with a bold prediction regarding the season. And during the season, unlike last season, we'll do a season review, but instead of him, my sister, maybe I think, an episode review, right? An episode review. After every episode, I'll do an episode review with my sister, and it will have a different feel because Itamar won't watch the show. I think it's gonna be fun.
She's much more prettier than me.
Well,
not that that's so hard. Yeah.
Your dedication to your art and this whole you want that journey of the story. So good for you.
Thank you.
For him, I'm a total sellout.
He dies before he finishes writing the books for you.
It's a two-part answer. If you won't finish the books, then you have a bright side, because then it means we can still have a job, predicting everything about the Game of Thrones because it's not written.
No, but the next book will have like 100 videos to make on the books, and people will go to YouTube, all the book readers. That would be a bonanza. No, he doesn't know anything about business.
If he dies before he finishes the book, I don't want to think about it. It's so sad. It's so sad.
Well, I'm kind of serious. I think he has no intention of finishing the series in his lifetime.
Wow, you think so?
Yeah, we talked about it between ourselves. I'm inclining to agree with you.
I don't think so.
Why do you say that, Wendy? Why do you two think that?
Because there's only a downside to finishing that story for him. If he doesn't finish it, he was writing the epic story that people will speculate for years and years and years.
It's possible.
How it would have ended. And if he does finish it, and people hate it compared to the TV show, then, he crashed and burned.
My explanation is much more simpler. I think he's just fed up with it, I think he's like tired. I don't know, maybe he wants other projects or something like that.
He's tired of writing too. And he's got so many alternative things that he can do right now. I mean, he's going to create another show for HBO based in a whole other universe. So he's got plenty of distractions.
And you go back to several years ago when he talked about the endings and, made fun of the Lost ending. And that isn't our purpose to debate that. But he talked about how bad that would, how... sticking the landing, so to speak, is so important. That's an interesting theory. I think you've got to sit there and go, as a creator, he needs to believe in his vision and finish it to tell the story he wants to tell, and then to heck with the rest of the people, if you like it or not, this is the story I wanted to tell.
Yeah, you're right, Ben.
I think that's his psyche. Like he's tuning off everything and he's only thinking about his own work. And I think maybe after Game of Thrones will be finished, he'll want to have his own version out there so that he's not associated 100% with the show.
Yeah, I'm convinced.
You changed your mind now?
I changed my mind. Yeah.
I
want to believe.
For why he
Jesse.
will finish it, because the TV series will have ended, and he'll want to say, no, that's not how the story's going to end, and get his version out there.
Right.
Yeah, the sixth book will come out, even if it does come out before the next season, he won't finish the last book before the show finishes. So there's no way that he's going to beat the show to get to the ending. Now, how close they wind up being is a matter of debate and adaptation and all that. So.
Right.
Because I think that the creators of the show do have that vision. I think they respect George R. R. Martin, but they also go, at this point we need to tell our tale and our story. And so I think they are two separate things. And especially as someone, I've only, I read the first book this off season because of Pat, fan of the show, and helped us. So I've enjoyed that first book, but I won't go any further because I just like watching the series.
So I want to come back to hearing Shannon and Jesse comment on the trailer as well, in terms of the voice that we heard and seeing the return of somebody.
Well, I think I've always said that we're going to see him again, no matter what kind of marketing stunts may or may not have been pulled, or what the cast may have said. So that was completely in line with what I thought it was going to be. And I like the fact that they, despite a few denials and obfuscations about Kit Harington's participation, I like the fact that that was their first image and the first thing in the trailer. They led with it and said, okay, let's quit, effing around. You're going to see him again, so quit worrying about when he goes to the barber and all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that statement, because we've debated this over and over again, that this whole who's Jon Snow's mother and all the storyline, if there's no payoff on that, despite, our worry about how the story ends, that's going to be, wow, what a major red herring that they had there. So, and I tend to enjoy the trailers, but with all love to our Star Wars, fans, I've had people go, well, how many times did you see the trailer? I watched it once, then, I'm going to wait and see the movie, versus, seeing it 20, 30 times and dissecting it. I love that passion. It's just not something I can do.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's not even a proper trailer. That's a teaser trailer, right?
Yeah,
exactly. The new footage is at the very last scene.
Right.
And the voice that we hear, which we already knew Max von Sydow was cast as the dude in the tree. I forget his name.
Bran. Actually,
but I like the hint that we might have seen all that stuff now through a different point of view character and what's happening. And also it throws into question time. Like, when did these events happen? Mm-hmm. Is it a vision, or is he having a memory?
Mm-hmm. Concerning the tree, the book readers already know what is this man in a tree. There is some game with time there,
right?
So the book readers know that as long it's the scene with the tree, something with concerning time is happening there.
Right.
Like past and present and future and something like that.
Right. Also, when Bran touched a tree, not last season, the season before, then he saw like the shadow of a dragon above King's Landing, which was either the future or the past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and also you mentioned Star Wars, Jesse, and going back to a little bit of the marketing thing, there's been a number of interviews with J.J. Abrams leading up to this, and he commented, and so did David Lindelof in the wake of The Leftovers Season 2 ending, which was great, by the way. But they were both talking about Star Trek Into Darkness and how they played a lot of games with the identity of Benedict Cumberbatch's character. Like, was it John Harrison? Was it Khan? Are you doing that story? And they all admitted that they completely bungled how that was rolled out and announced, because all the fans knew it, and they tried to play too coy with it, and it wound up irritating a lot of people.
Right.
So, in light of that, that's why I'm even more appreciative that the first image was, of course, of Jon Snow.
Right.
Yeah, and, I didn't mention that, but Shannon, you're totally right. This whole, we had our fun saying, no, Jon Snow's dead, but now then, okay, let's get past that. We have a story to tell, and absolutely that it appears he is a major player in this game and in this journey that we're seeing. So, yeah, let's just, we had our fun, now let's move on. And, how he's going to be is the mystery that we can tell in the story, not if he's going to be there or not.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good segue to talking about some of the other videos that Game of Thrones Academy did, and I'm gonna jump to the one that was called Dangerous Ideas, where you guys talked about a lot of people who are bringing ideas that, are, in our view, positive, but might end up getting you killed because they're undermining the status quo, the sovereignty of a nation. They go against the current thinking that is there. So I want to talk about that a little bit, especially the free folk and the ideas that they're bringing, because to me the free folk bring ideas that are very similar to the ideas that come from Bravos and Essos as well. So that could really have an overwhelming influence in just purely in terms of numbers on what's going on in Westeros today as a feudal society. And I also want to talk about the religious dangerous ideas that are going on in the story too.
Okay, so the free folk idea that every person is some kind of individual subject that has the same right as the other subject, never mind which family are you from or what blood flows in your brain, in your
veins.
in your veins. Sorry, it's very dangerous to a class society. But ideas can't be dangerous by themselves. They need some kind of crisis in order to permeate or plant the root in order to become a flower. Because people need to see somehow that this new idea works. They need to see it. They need to feel it in a sense that it works. Like you see the free folk, it's worked for them. So why not bring it here? Or if they can bring the idea with them, but most people need to see it's work. It's not fantasy.
I think that the free folk, they would pose a threat to the feudal society because they won't want to pay taxes to their lord and they won't kneel to their lord, and just the fact that they are many and armed and that the Seven Kingdoms would be in disarray, then they would have to appease them in some way, I think, because I don't know, it's like an armed insurgency, whatever.
Yeah, I think the key drivers for that in our story are geography, communication, and leadership. Because in the world that's been created, there are radically different ideas in Essos and with the free folk north of the wall, but they've been separated by a literal big wall or by distance and ships. And now the walls are literally coming down. You have free folk coming in, and they have different ideas about freedom and leadership and lords and religion. And then if Danny or somebody else, comes over as a conquering or invading force, those ideas are now going to be mixed up with the traditional feudal, the seat of power is at King's Landing and everybody's going to do what I say. And then you also have an influx of red priests and priestesses, and you have people being awakened to the existence of the supernatural from the north in the ice zombies, the White Walkers, and if dragons show up in Westeros. So that'll change the paradigm of a lot of people's thinking that, the main body of Westeros can always solve one way.
Yeah, and what I love about the show, and I especially love that in your video you talk about this, the original Star Trek, Kirk would go in and destroy the Prime Directive because he thought that the society they had was not healthy or not what's good. So he would, go in there waving the Federation / American flag and change the world to make things, right. And then we move on to a new episode. Well, here's Dany. She is bringing freedom. She's freeing the slaves. But this show has enough complication to say, yes, but that didn't fix everything.
Yeah.
And I love you guys to talk about that before something becomes accepted, like all men are created equal, you know, when it first comes out, that's a dangerous idea.
Yeah.
And I really love this video because the idea of saying, you know, just because it's something we agree doesn't mean it's the right decision. And this could be, to mix our metaphors, the serpent into the garden of, you know, the Game of Thrones world, the Seven Kingdoms.
Well, the thing that I found interesting was the idea that the legitimacy of power is constantly being negotiated, right? That's what's happening with the free folk. They are a consensus sort of culture, maybe somewhere between a consensus and a democracy. I'm not sure, but on a daily basis, who is running the show or who's persuading can change. Versus in feudalism, it's like, well, you're the guy and you have the blood connection, so there's no question beyond that. It's you answer the question once, who's in charge, that person is. This is a constant, question that keeps coming up. And we even got a hint of this actually playing out when you saw Stannis and Mance Rayder and Jon Snow, because Jon Snow was the one who saw, look, you have an overwhelming force coming. These guys can wipe you out, and we need them. So he was much more inclined to negotiate. And it seems like, the folks in Essos also understand that idea that, it isn't just, it's not black and white. That they actually need to bring people together to figure out, what is really the common ground, possibly. And we had it in the case of, Stannis coming in and figuring out how we're going to fight the White Walkers. But he further conflated that because he's like, I'm the legitimate king, but also you need to follow my religion. Yeah. So it wasn't just accepting him as the king, it was also you have to convert. So, he kind of did two things wrong with dealing with, the refugees who just came over the border for him. And that to me is really interesting of how that's going to be those other clashes of culture that are inevitable if the White Walkers are coming south.
I think in the books, George R. R. Martin emphasized more that Stannis actually was kind of progressive from an immigration standpoint in having the willingness to incorporate the free folk, but then his term was you have to convert or die. So it was kind of, I don't know, very reactionary or whatever, and very progressive. And then he just left the wall. So, and we know that the chaos is coming over there. And actually, we discussed that somebody mentioned that in the comment, and now we're using it as our own theory, that the people from Essos, they will flee towards Westeros, a lot of them, because Dany will be coming over with her dragons and with her Dothraki horde. That also has some parallels in history, right?
Yeah, the conquest of of Constantinople and the Greek, Asia Minor Greek world, the Byzantine Empire created an elite, migration of an elite that could have influenced the Renaissance and all the new ideas about humanism and stuff like that in the end of the Middle Ages.
That's it.
And I could totally see all of the disgruntled folks in King's Landing being happy to get paid off by people from Bravos instead of getting paid off by people from, the Lannisters or the Tyrells. I don't think they have much loyalty in a lot of cases. So as long as the folks from Bravos come with a lot of their middle class money too, they'll probably make a go of it.
Yeah, that was the case in most history, from what I know. That the people, the 99%, they usually didn't really care if the guy that pay taxes for, he knows their culture or he knows their language. This is something like a new thing of nationalism, like incorporating the whole society with this unified idea of Commonwealth and like a imagined community like the book,
R.I.P. Benedict
yeah,
Anderson.
like the book says. Most of the time, people are growing their food. They have this for hundreds of years. They have this master, and then another master comes, and as long as they don't go hungry, it's not that important for them.
But there was something that you said, a phrase that a lot of commentators like, that you cannot destroy an idea, you can only propose a better one. And it seems that the Bravossi, as Wendy says, they have a better idea of a middle class, of more inclusiveness politically and economically for more people.
Social mobility.
Social mobility. So those are good ideas that are attractive to more people than feudalism, which is not that attractive.
Well, and you'll also have more ideas for the general rank and file of Westeros from which to choose, because you have the ideas from Dorne in the south, depending on what kind of role they play in a future government. You have Dany and her people. You have the banks. You have the free folk, and these people have all been isolated basically to one set of values and system of economics and government and religion. I mean, you had old gods and new a little bit for the rank and file, but now you're going to have a total influx of ideas. And so people, depending on what kind of freedom they have, they'll be free to choose what works best for them.
Yeah, and I think what makes for a great story is be careful what you wish for. You may want to hold your leaders accountable, but, then when you see what some of like the sect did at this last season, where they all of a sudden the High Sparrow, right, is in his own way, he's just as a dictator in a lot of other ways. So I think that's what makes for an interesting story, and we're going to see what happens.
Clash of Civilizations.
It's always dangerous, mainly because the people that hold power never give up without a fight. So it's dangerous because, in a way, you fixing some kind of wrong by creating another wrong that is like, it have to happen because the people that hold power, they never give up without a fight, and a lot of destruction and civil war usually comes with that.
Absolutely.
Well, especially when you're talking about religious ideas, right?
Yeah.
Because people will because those aren't necessarily for their own personal gain, but they're part of their identity.
Yeah.
So there's going to be an even harder unwillingness between the red priests and the high septons to be accepting magic, or even maybe maesters if they're more science-minded maesters. So that's clearly a conflict they're kind of setting up between the High Sparrow and his now militarized priests with the Lannisters, and they're going to root out their corruption, but they're just going to insert their own new kind of corruption, which is all around, it's perceived as oil.
Right.
The other thing is, sometimes those ideas, they fester for a while, and then you have a catapulting disruption that actually enables them to happen. So it could be war, but it could also be some of this magic, right? I mean, in some ways, the Azor Ahai faction is being emboldened because magic is working on their side. She has proof. The Red Priest has proof that her way is correct, because she's been enabled to do some magic that persuaded Stannis and other people, versus at other times magic was less powerful, or whatever is underlying magic. So she wasn't able to have a groundswell like they might be able to do now.
Mm-hmm.
I think also the idea that you're right that the red god is more powerful than the seven, of course, because they don't have any magic. But going back to dangerous ideas, the idea of the seven is more appealing as a concept and ideology than R'hllor, which is basically just a weapon, right? It's not something. There's nothing moral. It's just you just pray for me, worship me, and I will destroy everybody that is not with me. I don't know.
I don't know. I think about the way Islam spread in the when it started, like 300 years, it spread like really like wildfire. No pun intended, because it offered something new to a different kind of people who didn't necessarily held power before. Of course, it has a lot of reasons. You know, the Byzantine Empire fell back then, and they entered this vacuum of power. But Islam gave a lot of people, like it gave a new community. It created a new community, an ummah, a nation of religious identity. It's a new identity.
I think it will spread through Essos, this religion.
It could be, if we compare it to that, it could be like Rolor can maybe give to more people a sense of community and justice. I don't know, because like the faith is the old world. It has this hierarchy between the father and the mother and all this kind of thing.
But
and
in
then,
Westeros, you think that Rolor would, I don't know, flow into Westeros? I think maybe in Essos. In Westeros, I think the seven are more, I don't know, it's too strong over there.
Maybe.
What do you think?
Well, this year, I know that I think they've already cast another red priest or priestess, and hopefully we'll get more into the implications of that religion, because right now we know it mainly through Melisandre and Stannis, and that can't be the only representation of that philosophy, because she's pretty much a zealot, and he went along with the plans, and we saw them as more hardcore, and just like all religions, people can twist it and use it for their own particular political or socio-economic goals. So I'd be real interested to hear another perspective on Rolor. Is there a kinder version of it than believe in us and we'll burn you at the stake?
Well, in the books,
Oh, sorry.
in the books, we are already starting to see this influence of the Rolor. I think in the last season we saw it as well, like this preacher that's telling Rolor is going to free you. He's chose his champion, and she's the breaker of chains, and she's going to free you.
There's also the Brotherhood without banners.
And in Westeros you have the Brotherhood without banners that they speak for Rolor as well. They have this some kind of an emancipating message.
Go ahead, Jesse, go ahead.
No. I just was going to say that it just, the extreme of any religion is very uncomfortable. And we're experiencing that in the real world right now. And so I agree. I really like Shannon's thought of, is this going to be, is this a standard, or has she taken it to the extreme? And I'm really curious what the show is going to do with her, now that she's kind of lost her power base. And even though, we had that monkey's paw discussion of, you got your wish, but it ultimately didn't get you what you want. Where is she going to try to find another power base, and what's going to happen? So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
And we've lost Shannon?
Well, I mean, I think she still thinks her power comes from the Red God, right? And she still thinks that she is tapping into it. Like she even said, the wall is a place where it's amplified. The problem is she just picked the wrong vessel. She picked the wrong guy.
She backed the wrong horse, right?
So I think in her mind, that's sort of just par for the course in terms of, oh, well, I picked the wrong guy, but it doesn't nullify her underlying beliefs.
Yeah, she'll switch to
because magic actually works, and people in the wall have seen supernatural things happening with the White Walkers, and they've seen ogres and all this other stuff, that they would be inclined to still think that she can tap into something that is credible, even if she's misinterpreting the signs. So I think she's actually just going to shift who she can persuade, because they also don't know everything that she screwed up prior to Stannis, which is only really that Walder Frey is still alive. But, I mean, I think part of it will be what happens with Sir Onion Knight when he finds out that they burned Shireen at the stake.
He's going to kill her.
And her role in that. And where is he? Because he has a really pivotal role at the Wall in terms of he's the second from Stannis, which Stannis and his forces still have legitimacy with the Night's Watch, who are, kind of in chaos themselves after their little coup. And then you have the Free Folk. And there's going to be some, negotiating or something that's going to happen, hopefully beyond just having a fight, but because the Night's Watch are outnumbered, so hopefully he'll be sort of that broker for peace, maybe, with her, possibly.
Makes sense.
I have a bold prediction, maybe. I don't know.
Go for it.
That maybe as this religion, the Lord of Light, spreads through Essos, and the new community becomes more egalitarian, no more slaves, this will drive the elite, as we said, to Westeros. And there they will fight against this same religion in Westeros, because there it's not as positive as it is in Essos. The Brotherhood without banners, like in the final book, they become like terrorists and anarchists without any ideology. And Melisandre also, she doesn't have any positive message. So maybe, I don't know, all the elites would go to Westeros, and that would still be maybe a more hierarchical society than Essos, but more, I don't know, successful, because, I don't know, more skilled individuals and groups would be over there. So this is my bold prediction.
Oh, so they would claim they're tolerant and inclusive to include the faith of the Seven and all that,
right?
In order to minimize the power of the Roar followers,
and even, I don't know, just exterminate this religion in Westeros, because I don't know, it's like in Israel you have immigrants from the former Soviet Union, so they have this tendency to fear the extreme left, say. And you have immigrants from Argentina who fled from a fascistic, militaristic, right-wing country, and they have a tendency to fear that, and they go to the left. So they would go to Westeros, and just their whole thinking would be, this religion is a danger to society. This is why we fled. We have to squash it and destroy it in Westeros. I don't know.
Yeah, good theory.
Well,
I approve.
it'll be interesting to see the role that Jon Snow plays in that too. If the Red Priestess or the Lord of Light or R'hllor is somehow involved in Jon Snow coming back, because, in a land where magic has only creeped in on the outside thus far, people have prayed to the old gods and the new gods or the drowned god, but you haven't seen active supernatural involvement for most of the people. But if the word spreads that here is a person that people know and is widely recognized as coming back from the dead, that adds a power and a tangible proof to, that particular strain of R'hllor's belief.
Well, and also that he came from a noble family. He's not just a nobody, too.
John, right?
Yeah, right.
Right. And he's gonna be some kind of Azor Ahai, I don't know, a part Azor Ahai, because in the books there's a scene where she says, "I asked R'hllor to show me Azor Ahai," she means Stannis, but he's showing me Snow, Jon Snow. So that's a huge hint that he is showing her Azor Ahai. She's just wrong, that it's not Stannis, it's Jon Snow.
I want to move on now to one of your other videos that was talking about one of my favorite characters, which is Sir Davos. And I gotta say, Itamar, you were talking some trash about our boy in terms of him, being a traitor to his class or something. So I want to hear you build the case for why Davos is a traitor.
I didn't feel comfortable saying it.
We made him.
Yeah, they made me do it. I love Davos as well. It was like the message was more to.
It was a thought experiment.
Yeah, it was a thought experiment, not to this Davos, God forbid, but to show like the complexity and difference from what we know today.
Right.
Of the origins of successful men. Today we use this I have humble beginnings, with my 10 fingers I built myself, and in the story, because of the historical context, he's ashamed of it, he's not proud of it, he doesn't take that fact as something that makes him greater, but on the opposite, he just is ashamed of it. And in the books, you see it much more clearly that he always thinks like, yeah, they don't like me because I'm low-born, and he accepts that.
And they're right to hate me.
Yeah, I accept that as a fact of life, not as something like, yeah, I will show them, I will tell them. So he's like, he subjugated, not subjugated, subliminized the oppression.
Right. He's telling Stannis, they are right, your lords are right to despise me and to not want to work with me. You should do as they want, I don't know. Yeah, whatever.
So in that sense, he's like a traitor to his class, and that's it.
Well, I think part of that too is just the nature of an adaptation in that they got lucky or were prescient and cast a really, really skilled actor in Liam Cunningham, who's very charismatic and very personable and can expand the range of that character a little on either side of what necessarily was on the page. And because in the book, Sir Davos goes off on another mission, whereas it appears he's going to be much more involved in the narrative in season 6 of the show.
I agree, and I'm brought back to in Harry Potter that J.K. Rowling has talked about that Harry's, and I'm drawing a blank on the character's name, the from the Slytherin side, the blonde-haired guy.
Draco.
Yeah, Draco. Yeah, thank you.
I can't believe it.
There's a huge fandom of his, and like she talks about, I think that's the actor and what he brings to the role, not necessarily the character. And I think the same thing, that this, we really show, this actor shows the weight of his honor and how he's trying to redeem himself, and he's living with his past and trying to do better. And so we cheer for that character, I think, a lot because of the betrayal, not necessarily for, if you just looked at it on the printed page, as we talked about, you may be a little more, well, I don't know if this guy's a hero or not, but you get the feeling he is on a hero's redemption journey. And I am a fan of redemption journeys, and so that's, Supernatural or all these other different shows. And so I'm pulling for him because of that. And, but I love the video of a different, let's look at this from a different way of how he may be betraying his class. And maybe he's picked, he's serving a god that may not be worthy, he shouldn't be serving him. Because Stannis is so ambitious that he's literally willing to sacrifice anything to get what he needs.
Right.
Well, to me, he's the extreme of what people will do to still retain the flawed system, despite its flaws, right? So he's the guy who, if you think about, like, people on two sides of the wall, and you know you have all the prisoners on one side, and one person gets over, right? Everyone's thrilled that that guy got over because he's free. But once he gets over, is he helping me get out too, or not?
Yeah.
And you know, I think there's an argument that says we don't know, or at least I don't know what he's done for someone else. He certainly sacrificed a lot in order to get over to his position. You know, he's lost his son, he's lost his fingers. But to me, the reason he has done that is not his ambition. It was in the service of high ideals, right? I mean, so he kind of still believes the piece of the feudalist society that was actually good, which was, you know, that nobles took care of other people, that the leader was the person who led people in a better way. You know, they had more knowledge, they were smarter than the average person. So, you know, instead of following some random guy, he's following the guy who's probably the most suited to do the job of king afterwards. Because to me, there is an underlying goodness to him. I mean, if you think about the whole thing with him becoming Sir Onion Knight, he didn't have to go back and keep them alive. You know, that was his loyalty and it's kind of his flaw, right? It's his loyalty to Stannis, and buying into the system,
Right.
even though he sees repeatedly examples where the system is flawed. And I'm hoping that once he learns that Shireen has been killed by Stannis, that will kind of be the thing that breaks him from the flawed system, you know, finally.
There's this term coined by the communists called a useful idiot. He's basically a useful idiot for Stannis and feudalism. I don't know. He's not working to advance his own interests and people like him, but actually the other way around. To retain and strengthen feudalism, because as you said, Stannis is like the most skilled king in a feudal society. But if the society changes, then Stannis doesn't have any skills to, I don't know, manage a kingdom that is more inclusive and more democratic and less rigid. He is as rigid as it gets. Someone again? No?
So I agree, he's a traitor. I don't like him.
No, I like him also. I like him.
Kill
I really
him!
like
And I would still let him be on my small council.
For sure.
I think because usually his advice to Stannis was pretty good. And not just strategic, but actually came from a good place.
It says something good about Stannis, that he keeps close to someone like Davos, that even though he's like a loyal puppy, he's very much, he's not playing like the courtesy game of my lord, I will tell you everything you want to hear. It's more like I know the shit because I was there, I grew from the top, so it's like seeing him as like a window to this world he doesn't know nothing about, Stannis, and it's a good leadership quality. And he accepts his opinions as well, so it's very good, a good point
Right.
for
He
Stannis.
doesn't look for yes men around him. Right.
And because of him, Gendry is still on a boat someplace.
Go, Gendry!
He's out there paddling.
Still rowing.
Yes.
Do we have a bold prediction? Will we see Gendry again?
Yes,
Yes, I agree.
definitely.
He's a thumbs up.
Yeah.
And is he gonna
I
die?
forgot about him.
I don't think he's gonna die.
No, they wouldn't have gone to such lengths to save him, to just then have him die. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yep, I
Maybe
think
he'll run
he
into
is.
Arya.
Sorry?
Sorry?
Maybe he'll run into Arya again.
Yeah, there are theories that say that they will be, I don't know, like a couple or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Until she kills him.
Natural born killers.
That
man.
could be one of her faces. So I wanna keep going on this live and die thread because you guys did an interesting video about who lives and who dies, and we had quite the list. I think you kind of went through everybody. The one that really surprised me, I gotta say, is your prediction that Littlefinger is gonna die. So I want to hear a little bit more about that one and any other ones you want to talk about.
Littlefinger, I don't know, like his character arc he starts pretty much at the bottom and he works his way up the food chain, and we know his goal. So I don't know, just to make the story interesting, he has to fail, because if the story goes like this and he ends up winning, I don't know, it doesn't look like something George R. R. Martin will do. He would mix things up. It's like Sansa went down and now he's going up. And I think his arc and her arc are gonna clash, because for her to fulfill her destiny and potential and whatever, the way we see it, of being queen, she has to get rid of him.
And also he's very, very cocky. Right. Especially in the books. He's very cocky, very confident, very sure of himself. And that's a recipe for death in George R. R. Martin's world, you know. I don't see him like winning and surviving all the stuff to come.
Well, especially with a character like that, if the authorial intent is to punish him for being cocky and being manipulative and sowing the seeds of chaos, you know, worse than death would be to isolate him or strip him of influence and power. You know, that he winds up working for somebody else without a network of spies, without access to funds, without the ability to affect change. So maybe he doesn't die, but he's just completely, you know, stripped of all influence.
And
so he gets sent to the wall?
Yeah. Or maybe he actually has to live there in the city, but, you know, close to power, but not involved. I won't spoil everything. I love all your videos, but this one was especially fun, just going through the list of the characters. You know, and I like your theory that maybe Sansa will actually kill Littlefinger. But I was a little sad when you first mentioned Bronn, and you go, dead. Because I'm like, of course, he's a Stark. He's going to die. But then you surprised me. You have a couple other Starks living. But there was one death you predicted that I will not spoil here, but was so funny that a certain character got beheaded, and you were like, what? Oh, you didn't notice? So great moment.
Is that a spoiler that Ned is dead?
I just love that. Well, I didn't want to spoil the joke. It was just so funny. This is, you know, just the way they played that. And of course, I love Tyrion's middle name in the video.
Can we say that on the air? No.
We can always beep it away, but I just thought it was great. Of course, you built to him, and that was great.
Thank you.
I don't know, Shannon, Wendy, do you guys disagree with any of their predictions?
All right.
I think they were pretty spot on, you know, as far as predictions, who will live and who will die.
I don't agree with Brienne dying. I think Brienne's gonna live.
No, we said she's gonna live.
We said she was gonna live.
No, she has Brienne living. Yeah.
I guess I had note in my notes that she died.
Wait, and you have Dany dying, correct?
Dany, right. Do you agree?
Yeah, I don't see Dany dying in the end of the story.
Why? What do you think will happen to her?
I do see her.
Yeah, I do too. I think that she, you know, the road to Hades is paved with good intentions, and I think that her journey is a strong one, and we appreciate it. But I just don't. I see her dying in a tragic death, but in trying to do the right things. I actually think the mother of dragons might become dragon food if she's not careful.
Well, if she doesn't get killed in battle, which is kind of what I think, then she would go into exile. It's kind of, and I'm borrowing from Lord of the Rings, but it's like she's like Gandalf, right? You know, she can't live in the world that she created. She has to go with the elves on the ship.
Well, or even more appropriate with our guest is Moses, right? Looking over the promised land. You know, to go with, you know, a lot of their videos, I could see that very much, where she's helped create a better kingdom, you know, and united them, but can't enjoy it.
Itamar has
I think, you know, there's a compelling story there about, you know, your dragons can't stay, so you have to take them back.
I think Itamar has a prediction on how she will die. She will be betrayed. Right?
She's supposed to be betrayed, but
like a third time.
Yeah.
Maybe the third time would be the charm. And we actually just shot a video with a bold prediction regarding who will betray her, but it's not posted yet. So
Jorah is her first betrayal, or is her brother her first betrayal, and Jorah's her second? What is the betrayals we've seen so far?
Miri Mazdur.
Yeah, she says in the book. She says the first betrayal was Miri Mazdur, but because she says it, it doesn't mean that it's true. Like it could have already happened. It could have not happened yet.
She says Miri Mazdur and Jorah, and then there's a third one coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
Third one, the charm.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, it is dangerous for sure.
Yes.
So now I want to move on from Game of Thrones specific videos to talk a little bit about what else you guys are talking about on your Game of Thrones Academy channel. So catch people up who might not be up to speed with some of the changes.
Okay, actually, because we're expanding to other subjects, we changed the name of the channel from Game of Thrones Academy to GotAcademy. But now we might change it again one more time. We're, I don't know, thinking about different names, maybe Got Context or Break Down Everything, because we're expanding now. We posted 2 videos about breaking down the Bible. Itamar is a biblical studies teacher and a rabbi, certified rabbi. And no, not really. So we take the Bible stories and break them down from a historical context in which they were written during that time. And I don't know, for me, it has been very, very interesting just to look at the Bible, which I know kind of well because I'm Israeli, for the Old Testament, and just learn about the people who wrote it and why they wrote it, which is something that you never taught in high school. I don't know.
Yeah.
And also we have a new series coming out today that's called Great Men History, in which we talk, each time we'll talk about a different person that affected history and his or her political and historical context. We're pretty psyched about that. Also, there's another series that will launch soon that we're super excited about. We'll call History Now.
Okay.
We'll take like current I don't know, things that are present in our own world and just make a bold prediction that they would be critical in some huge cultural or scientific or political developments in the future. I don't know, for example, transhumanism.
Yeah.
And we don't want to spoil too much about the subjects, but I don't know, we think it will be funny and interesting and just thinking about the world today and possibilities of where it could be going.
Oh, that's good. I've enjoyed catching up on not only the Game of Thrones videos, but I just started some of the other ones on your Bible series as well. So those are really well done. And
thanks.
I appreciate the historical perspective because when you read all the Game of Thrones books and you podcast about it and you read a gazillion pieces of analysis the next day, the thing that frustrates me is that so much of the criticism is written by people that only look at it through a modern lens. That they between the political roles and gender roles and things like that, they don't try to place it in context and look at it through a medieval or Renaissance or whatever society. And so it's really refreshing to hear people look at it through the lens of history and then also draw comparisons from real life and time appropriate historical events. And so I appreciate you guys doing that.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I grew up in a Southern Baptist home. I converted to Catholicism when I married my wife.
Really?
But I've always had an interest in the historical context of the biblical text, taking away the dogma and trying to see things from a perspective of what the writers were trying to get across. And I love the idea of we take away the faith-based and part and look at this as a literature to a certain degree, right? That you're saying, okay, let's see what this is and kind of give you in that context, makes for a very interesting video, and it helps you to learn things. I think because you aren't using this as a political tool, you're truly trying to be entertaining first, which you do well, and educational. And I think, not to sound too much like a fanboy, but I love that those are the two you push. You push, let's make this entertaining, and then also educational. And that way that that's how you gain an audience, because if it isn't entertaining,
right,
they aren't going to sit there to be taught anything.
Yeah.
And it's not as much fun for us to make it not entertaining. We want to have fun making the videos and make ourselves laugh, and hopefully some other people. Yeah.
Well, it really does seem like this is the discussion you two would have over coffee and cigarettes anyway. So we might as well put the camera on and share it with other people, right? I mean, that is what you get the feeling.
That's how it started, basically.
Yeah. In Hebrew, we could. In Hebrew, we could pull it off, but in English, it's after heavy editing. It seems totally natural after heavy editing.
But you are going to keep doing them in English, or are you going
in
to...
English, all of them in English.
And
actually, we're now starting to post 2 Game of Thrones videos per week, every Monday and every Wednesday, and every Tuesday we'll post a Q&A. So we're not. So the new content is on top of the Game of Thrones content. Every Thursday we'll post a breaking down the Bible video, and every Saturday it will be interchangeable between Great Man History and politics and History Now later on, and stuff like that. So we're actually adding a lot more content instead of just 1 video per week. It will be 5 videos per week. So we hope it catches on. Hopefully.
So you're going to be very busy. That's awesome. I've had a chance I've dropped one of the Breaking Down the Bible videos, and I found it really interesting, because the thing that I think people often forget, or maybe they never even knew, is that many people wrote the Bible over a very long period of time, and there's a lot of editing, and I don't think God was doing the editing. So that's very helpful to be reminded of that. And I want to go back to Shannon's point about the context for Game of Thrones is supposed to be a medieval universe, and people today criticize what they're showing is happening in that universe, because there's an important distinction between the argument that, well, we're just showing the historical context versus a message that's showing it's acceptable today. And I think that's where a lot of shows can get into trouble. I don't particularly think that Game of Thrones is advocating for any return to the Middle Ages. Right. Certainly as far as treatment of women or non-white men, for sure. But it's worth the conversation. I think that's actually one of the things that Game of Thrones is serving a broader cultural benefit, is the conversation that comes up about the things that horrify us today that were standard practice in the Middle Ages.
Well, and also talking about religion, it depicts religion in a variety of things, and you see parallels, as the guys mentioned earlier, to events that are going on today, where you have extremists and fundamentalists, and you have people that are like, whatever, I don't believe in that. Oh, look, there's a dragon. And then you have the scholars and the faith militant. I mean, there are all these different depictions of belief and organized and loosely organized religion that you can draw historical and even contemporary analogies from.
Absolutely. It's always fun to talk to you guys, and it gives us something to think about. And I'm a little sad you're not going to be involved with us our next season, but I respect your journey, and I'm looking forward to seeing your sister and your perspective.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, we'll still see Itamar. We just won't hear his thoughts on the current.
Right.
No, I'm gonna, because I don't want to know anything about the new season. I'm gonna start in May. I'm gonna shut myself in a cave.
Right.
And go out.
Well, you have to get off the internet for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
No, I will shout spoilers right to the cave. John is alive. He's alive.
You can drink that potion that Arya drinks, and therefore you won't lose your sight.
Right.
Well, I think we're going to wrap up now. Do we have any final thoughts? Just want to say how much fun this has been talking to you guys during the break. And I'm assuming maybe we'll be talking to Gil and his sister later on as the next season comes out too. But thanks again. It's always a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We hope it's a new tradition.
Bold predictions.
Okay.
And I'm looking forward to seeing the series of your prediction of where you think the character is going to be in the new season. So I'm sure that'll give us a lot of discussions when we do our pre-season episodes.
And that will be with Itamar. That will be with Itamar.
Yes. Yay.
It's so funny.
Somebody is in Game of Thrones blackout,
right? We're gonna tie her to a chair, and she's gonna have to watch everything.
Good. And how's Mr. Bear?
Mr. Bear actually.
Who is Mr. Bear?
Who is Mr. Bear? No, we deny any knowledge of Mr. Bear.
Okay.
We don't know. You have to keep watching to see what Mr. Bear does. He does some more stuff, or maybe not. I'm not sure. And we hope this talk is a new tradition. We hope this is a new tradition. Every few weeks, we can chat if you have the time.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a great idea.
I'm assuming there's going to be lots of leaked spoilers and stuff coming over the next couple months.
So maybe okay.
And we'll definitely get together when we see a proper trailer for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you for having us.
Thanks again.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Jesse and Shannon.
And everyone.
Everyone.
All right, thanks, guys. I'm going to head to Star Wars.
Yep.
Bye. Have fun.
Have fun.
Take care.
Have fun.
Bye.
Bye.